Usha-ben, what were Gandhi's activities, especially in Bombay, before he started his civil disobedience or salt satyagraha?
Sandhya, he did visit the city of Bombay occasionally before the civil disobedience movement was launched formally. So, in 1924, he was not keeping well. So, he came to Narottam Morarji's bungalow at Palm 1, you know.
At Juhu.
At Juhu, that's right. And so, he would spend his time meeting friends, talking to people, taking leisurely walks on the seashore, and of course, getting up early. And of course, attending to his prayers, and many people would come and see him. Now, there is a delightful incident in this context I would like to tell you, perhaps you know about it, that there were some mill owners who wanted to come and see Gandhi, and they came, and with there came Sir Kavasji Jahangir and Sir Neswadia. So, while talking, Sir Kavasji addressed Gandhi as Gandhi Seth.
Acha. Gandhi Seth thai gaya.
Yes. So, then everybody was amused and started looking. So, he thought he said something wrong. So, he said, no, I mean Mahatma Seth.
Acha, Mahatma Seth.
Yes. But this is the lighter side of it. But otherwise, Gandhi kept busy with his social work, with his political work. And in 1925, he came to Mumbai to open the Congress House, which was a long-term project. But finally,
right
the building
now, the Congress House is at Leamington Road.
Right.
The same Congress House.
Yes. And then in 1927 and 28 beginning, again the political climate of Bombay is in ferment, because Simon Commission is here. And naturally the Indians were very annoyed, very angry, and as there was no Indian member on that commission. So, the city of Bombay was full of the protest, and there were signboards like Simon Commission, go back.
Okay.
Yeah. So, at least that was a way to convey the anger and frustration of the people, and there were partial strikes and all that continued. Now, another interesting incident I would like to tell you, and that is the work of the students of VJTI. That is, at that time it was called Victoria Jubilee Technical Institute, and again it is in August 1928. Now, they had put a restriction on the students on weaving of Gandhi's portrait.
Okay. Yeah, so the students were weaving the portrait, the textile.
Yeah, and they wanted to weave Gandhi's portrait. And when they were stopped, naturally there was a furor among the students. And you know how the students are, the youth energy. And students always were with Gandhi. Whether it is 30s, of course, 1942 is at the peak of the students' movement. But here the students were very annoyed, and they protested, and actually the leaders of the city like Nariman and Chagla, and they all supported the students. And it was only in 1934 that Babubhai Chinai, who was at one time the student of VJTI, managed to get the permission of the authorities of the institute to allow the students to weave Gandhi's portrait.
How wonderful, that's so nice. And they could weave the full portrait.
Yeah, later on. Unfortunately, we have not been able to trace any of such portrait. And then in 1929, again Gandhi came to Bombay to open the Umar Sobhani library in the Congress House. And as you know, Umar Sobhani was a dear colleague of Gandhi, who had passed away in 1926.
He was the one who owned Elphinstone Mills, where bonfires were held.
Right. And during this time, Gandhi is very busy promoting his khadi related activities and opening khadi bhandars. And interestingly, in 1929, even foreign cloth boycott committee was set up in Bombay. So that is interesting.
Now, Gandhi started his salt satyagraha from Ahmedabad in 1930.
Yeah.
How did people of Bombay respond and participated in the salt satyagraha in Bombay?
Yeah, I think Sandhya's question is very pertinent, because we all know Gandhi was not here in Bombay at that time. But when he announced his Dandi March, the nation was filled with new energy, and even the city was filled with new energy. So, the city of Bombay participated in salt satyagraha with gusto. Even though Gandhi is not physically present, his ideas are present. His energy is also present in the city, and we can get glimpses of it. Like the suburb of Villaparle, you know it. Yes. And it was full of activities, and Gandhi had nominated Jamnalal Bajaj as the first dictator. So, they had set up a camp at Villaparle, and eminent leaders participated like Kishorlal Mashruwala, Gokalbhai Bhatt, Swami Anand, Shankar Rao Dev, and even Janki Devi Bajaj and Kasturba.
So, Kasturba was also with
Yes, yes, she was on the forefront. And on 6th April, they unfurled the national flag there. Now, this is in the suburb, but even in the Congress House, there are many activities going on, because Nariman, then Yusuf Meher Ali, Abid Ali, S.K. Patil, these young leaders are very active. And now they decided to celebrate the National Week. As we talked earlier, National Week is so important in our freedom struggle. So, because the original Satyagraha, the first nationwide Satyagraha was launched on 6th April, the day is very special.
6th to 13th April is always celebrated as a National Week.
Yes, yes.
Even now we celebrate this as a national.
Yeah, we try to remember and pay our little tribute. Now, on 6th April, around 2,000 people gathered at Congress House, and they had a long procession from Leamington Road to Sandhurst Road to Bhuleshwar, Girgam, Kalba Devi, Princess Street, and back to Congress House. And in the evening, there was a huge meeting, maybe around 5,000 people held at Chopati.
All these names brings the city alive.
Absolutely, And when we talk of Chopati, so many things come to our mind. All people in khadi-clad clothes, willing to sacrifice, willing to suffer. So, I think this is such an important part of the city's history. Now, going back, on 7th April, again they decided that they have to organize a satyagraha, which was headed by K.F. Nariman, and they marched out of the Congress House. And as they marched, they were escorted by many people, and very soon the number became in thousands, and they decided to go to Mahalakshmi, walking.
Okay.
Yes. And
Mahalakshmi temple, nearly Haji Ali.
Yes. And as they would reach the seashore, there were 4 volunteers in a batch. They would go fetch the sea water in bucket, and there was a park near race course, and there Avantika Bai Gokhale and Kamla Devi, they would light the cigarettes, little chulas, and they would boil the water and make salt.
Very interesting.
Yes. And so, in the evening again there was a huge meeting of 10,000 people, and Nariman presided. Now, I would like to tell an interesting thing. You remember our Usha Ben Mehta, Dr. Usha Mehta. Now, she had told us this little incident in her life, that she was a school going child and her grandmother used to stay in Gujarat. She says every time we would go on our holidays, my grandmother would make sweets and all the eatables and goodies for the children. But this time, the grandmother said, "Wait children, I am making salt." Gandhi's message had reached even there, but coming back to Bombay, and on 8th April onwards, again we see that now there is a ritual of preparing salt everywhere, at the seashore and in the houses, and very importantly on the terrace of the Congress House.
Okay.
Now you know where is Congress House and all that. So, they decided that again the sea water would be brought and they would boil it on the terrace, and they had prepared cement pans. So, ultimately when on 10th April the police came, they found such 30 cement pans, yeah, where the salt was being prepared.
So the batches of volunteers would collect the seawater from the bucket and go to Congress House at Leamington Road and make salt. on the
Yes,
sea.
and by that time of course the leaders of the salt satyagraha in Bombay, they were arrested, like K.F. Nariman and Jamnalal Bajaj. But again people were not dampened. They arranged a huge meeting at Chowpatty to celebrate. Yeah, and contraband salt was being sold. Now, I think here selling is important, but even more important is buying.
Yes.
I think it's a symbol, and this is one of the important features of Gandhian movement, that the symbols are very important. So, you do not have to kill a person or use a revolver or use a knife to indicate your protest. You can do it even by such small gestures.
Very true. These are the symbols of protest, and people are buying as a support.
Right. And so, on the last day of the National Week, that is 13th April, there was again a big meeting of around 50,000 people, and at Chowpatty, of course. And there were other stalwarts, solicitors, lawyers like M.C. Setalwad, K. Munshi, Mangaldas Pakwasa, Bhulabhai Desai. They all pledged to support the cause of Swadeshi. So, throughout April, we can see all these scenes of making salt, and leaders like Kamala Devi, Avantika Bai, Sarojini Naidu in the forefront. So, here women are leading the nation.
Yes, eminent women are leading.
Eminent women, and I think this is another beautiful part of our freedom struggle, that there is no antagonism between men and women, and women are also showing their capability, and they are being respected for what they are. Now, finally the government arrested Gandhi on 4th of 1930, but that does not dampen the spirit of the people, and we know about the Vadala salt satyagraha. So, you see, Vadala salt satyagraha is also a little history of its own, that from 22nd May, even before that the preparations are started, that batches of satyagrahis would go, they would be beaten up, they would be thrown in the mud, but again another batch would come. So, from 1st June this program was taken up even more seriously, and nearly 15,000 volunteers, children, women, citizens, they all joined this satyagraha. And I mean, you can just visualize.
This was also the effect of Dharasana Satyagraha which was happening there. So, the same scene was happening in Mumbai at that time, Badala Point.
Yes, at Dharasana, Sarojini Naidu was the heroine, and here so many men and women were the leaders. And we also get an account that how Lilavati Munshi insisted to be arrested.
Okay.
Yes.
So, how was that?
Yeah, so you see they are no longer afraid of the jail, but women, men, they want to be arrested. Another important thing which I would like to draw your attention is the issue of Prabhat ferries. You know how important Prabhat ferries are, these morning processions. I think it's difficult to bring the exact meaning in English, but I think Prabhat ferries are, as name suggested, it is held in the morning and it is to awaken the spirit of people. Prabhat ferries were being actively organized in the areas of Bhuleshwar, Kalba Devi, Thakurdwar, and also Girgam. Now, young people were very much attracted to this, and I would like to draw your attention to an incident which is not usually narrated in our history books or somewhere. That there was this young man called Hargovind Lalji, and he headed this group Pavagad Prabhat Feri, and he had his little business. He owned a washing company and stayed at Thakurdwar. So, now when he started his Prabhat Feri on 2nd August with a national flag in his hands, you see, European officer asked him to stop, and he would not stop. He said, I cannot stop. So, European officer just hit him and he fell down, but he did not allow the national flag to be snatched away. So, he was seriously hurt, badly hurt, and he was shifted to KM hospital and he died on 4th of August. So, like this there are many young people, young and old, who sacrificed their lives for the country. And when we are talking about this picketing against foreign cloth, let us not forget Babu Genu, you know, a mill worker, again a very young man, and on 12th December, he was doing picketing against this foreign cloth.
At Murji Jetha market again?
Yeah, again the same area, we have a little lane also, no?
It's named after him, yes.
And he was doing picketing, and again the European officer comes, he said, you have to allow the lorry carrying the foreign cloth, and he would not allow. So, he preferred to be crushed under that, and the city is shocked. People were in a shock, they could not believe it. And men and women of Bombay, they gave a beautiful touching tribute to him. And as we know from a very rare report of Deshasevika Sangh, that how the women of Bombay gave him a very loving tribute by joining the funeral procession.
They all joined, the women joined.
The women
and those days the women were not going to the funeral procession.
And that is why it is so important for us to remember, and they lighted the torch to the funeral pyre. So, you see, this speaks of the courage of our martyrs and the courage of our people, men and women. And there is also one delightful thing that, you know, how the people of Mumbai are excited about Ganpati festival.
Yes.
You know that.
Yes.
So, in those days when they would celebrate Ganpati festival, they would make Ganpati wear a little Gandhi cap.
Okay. That is interesting, yes,
cute.
that's interesting.
And also they would keep Congress flag in front of the Ganpati idol.
So, very patriotic.
Very patriotic, and I think there is a beautiful combination of our religious sentiment and patriotic sentiment, because something which is of vital importance to us. And so, Munshi puts it very beautifully. Now, as you know, he was an author, writer, lawyer, and of course, a person of literature. So, he's telling during 1930s, you know, the Gandhian movement, they really made Bombay the citadel of national movement. So, I think that catches the essence of those times, the citadel of national movement.
Let me add more to it about the oppressive policies of the British when they killed Babu Genu and other people who were protesting against them. In the movie theatres, there used to be the documentaries of Mahatma Gandhi. So, during this time, the British banned all the movies, all the documentaries on Mahatma Gandhi, which were being shown in the theatres. So, now I come to the next question. Now, British government called for the second round table conference in London in 1931. Gandhiji was not keen on attending the conference, but the last minute he decided to attend the conference. Please describe the scene in Bombay and in Mani Bhavan before he left and after he returned from London.
Okay, I will try. You see, on as you rightly said that the times were changing fast, the protest among the Indians was on rise, and the British government did not want to give up so easily, so soon. So, they wanted to give in, but very little, because our aspirations had gone high, and as you know, by that time we have already taken a decision to ask for Purna Swaraj, complete independence. So, on 9th June 1931, the working committee of the Congress, they met here in Mani Bhavan, and they decided that let us do something. And so, the members who were present, they thought that Gandhi could go to the round table conference and to discuss the issues. But then Gandhi was not very keen, because he realized that unless the communal question is settled, there is no point into entering with political discussions with the British government. But anyway, finally, the working committee decided that if conditions were favorable, Gandhi could represent the Congress in the second round table conference.
Now, another incident I want to add here, you mentioned about the Prabhat Feris earlier.
Right.
Now, when the Congress Working Committee was going on in Mani Bhavan, the Prabhat Feris, the people had carried out Prabhat Feris in the morning, and they gathered outside Mani Bhavan,
Oh,
singing national songs
okay.
to get the attention of the leaders who were in Mani Bhavan. So, when they heard the national songs, the people waiting downstairs for them, they all came out. Nehru, Sardar Patel, Gandhiji and other important national leaders who were attending Congress Working Committee meeting, they came onto the balcony of Mani Bhavan and greeted the people downstairs who were singing Prabhat Feris.
Yeah, that must have been so impressive, and I think we also have a photograph of that.
Yes, we have the famous picture in Mani Bhavan where Jawaharlal Nehru, Gandhiji, and in the corner is Kamala Nehru standing looking down at the people and greeting them.
Yeah, it's one of the rare photographs we have, but yes, those were the historic times.
Historic times, yes.
So, you know, Gandhi was at that time in Shimla, and he had to come to Bombay.
That was in August, he was in Shimla.
Right.
Yes.
And so, I think a special train had to be arranged.
So, here also I want to tell you something.
Yeah.
A special train was arranged for Gandhi from Shimla or Delhi to for Gandhi to reach Mumbai in time to catch SS Rajputana, which was going to London. So, they arranged for a special train, and on the inter class compartment outside there was a banner which was written from Delhi to Ballad Pier, Bombay, straight to Ballad Pier, not to Churchgate station, but straight to Ballad Pier, Bombay. So, that was a banner.
You see, by this time we can realize that Gandhi has attained such a stature that, you know, no, he cannot be neglected. No. If there is any discussion for independence to India, Gandhi has to be involved. And now, as you know, that Gandhi was called and a special passport had to be prepared.
Yes.
Where the year of his birth is wrongly written. It is 1870. I think everything was done in hurry.
Yeah. In one day the passport was made.
You are so right. And we have a copy of that in our Mani Bhavan picture gallery also.
Yes.
And
so Gandhi's nationality is written as British protected subject. His nationality was not Indian at that time. Okay. He was a British protected subject.
And so he went to London, and again, after he has come back to India in 1915, he doesn't like to travel abroad.
No. I think this was a second trip to London after 1915.
That's right.
Yes.
I mean, because he said, my life is in the service of my motherland. His decision, determination, as soon as he came from South Africa in 1915, and he stuck to that. So now he left for London on 29th August 1931, and he returned on 28th December. Now naturally the people were overjoyed, but not Gandhi. You see, even before going, he has said that I must go to London with God as my only guide, because he did not expect much from the discussions and deliberations there. And when he returned, the city was excited, in joyous mood to receive its beloved leader. So, the roads from Ballard Pier to Mani Bhavan were decorated, and as one of our historians, Pattabi Sitaramaya wrote that the men were on the roads and the women were looking at from the balconies. But I am sure men, women, they were on the roads, and
both the sides of the road, there were the people who were ready to greet Gandhi after his arrival from London.
Yes. And so Vallabhbhai Patel and other leaders of Bombay Provincial Congress Committee, they were there, and they organized so many meetings. Now, unfortunately, what has happened, that on one hand Gandhi comes back after negotiations. Now, meanwhile, the British government here has passed many ordinances. Not only that, it has imprisoned Jawaharlal Nehru, and Gandhi naturally is not very happy. And when a meeting is organized on 28th of December, he says that, look, now be prepared for every sacrifice, and may God give us the strength to suffer and sacrifice in the cause of freedom. Now, Gandhi is aware that nothing much has been achieved, and now the government would like to have more repressive steps. So, the people, the leaders, they all should be ready to sacrifice even more for the nation. And so, even wrote to the Viceroy that what are we heading, what are we doing, where are we heading? There has to be a way out.
There was, I think, a Congress committee meeting also was going on in Mani Bhavan at that time.
And so, but Viceroy's reply came, and this was on 2nd January. And when Gandhi received his reply to his communication earlier, he smiled and he said, now I am preparing to go to jail. He knew that now discussions are not going to take us any further, and the British government would like to put me in prison. And so, he started dictating his notes, his letters at a very fast speed. Now, see, another important issue which occurs to us is that Gandhi is a fine communicator. He knows issues of national importance and of international importance, and he knows the ways and means to communicate to people. So, he communicates to his own people by his words, by his deeds, even by his silence, Maun Vrat, or even by his fast. But when it comes to the foreign press, he makes statements. And so, he told the Associated Press of India reporter on telephone that nation must now respond to the challenge of the government. Our quarrel is not with men, but with measures. And he sent a message to America through an American correspondent, where he said, the Indian struggle is more than national. It has international value and importance. See, in 30s, he is now being very vocal about it.
He wants to spread the message that about the British regime here in India to the international, to the world.
And he is successful. And so, on 3rd January evening 1932, he wrote to Tagore that I want you to give your best to the sacrificial fire that is lighted.
This is again from Mani Bhavan, he wrote.
Yes, again from Mani Bhavan, and as you know, we have a replica of the letter in our picture gallery. And now everybody knows that arrest is in air. Gandhi is fully prepared. So, there are so many people to visit Gandhi, to meet Gandhi, and there are so many people who must be staying here at that time, maybe around 200 people.
On the terrace?
That's right. And so, Verrier Elwin, who is an anthropologist and who is a tribal activist, has given a very vivid description of it, because he was staying here in Mani Bhavan on the terrace that night. And so he has written that Bapu slept like a child, committed to his father's hands. And I thought of Christ going to Jerusalem, his eyes filled with determination and courage, and I seemed to see the spirit of Christ traveling the centuries like a bright sword turned against all wrong and injustice.
Very nicely written.
So beautifully written. Yes.
Usha Ben, when Gandhi returned from London in 1931, December 28, 1931, he was arrested from the terrace of Mani Bhavan on January 4, 1932. Please describe the scene of his arrest from the Mani Bhavan terrace here.
Yes, Sandhya. So, as you know, Gandhi was here sleeping on 3rd January 1932.
A winter morning.
Yes. And there were many people here resting, sleeping, and his arrest was very much in the air. So, in fact, the warrant for his arrest was already prepared on 3rd January 1932. And early morning on 4th January at 3 a.m., the police arrived to arrest Gandhi. And the police commissioner was G.S. Wilson, and he had made all the preparations for the arrest. And at this juncture, let me share with you that his grandson, David Wilson, had come to Mani Bhavan as a tourist, and it was very nice of him that when we contacted him and we asked him whether he would be having any account prepared by the police commissioner G.S. Wilson, and he said yes, he would try to find out, and he did send some pieces from that account. Now, in that account, we find a note of the police commissioner Wilson, where he has written that how they had made preparations for Gandhi's arrest, how they came from the police station to here, and how they had seen a crowd collected to see when Gandhi is getting arrested. So, in his words, it was like a crowd looking out, eager to witness what to them was one of the great events of Indian drama. Like Gandhi's arrest was a big event. And then he writes that Gandhi was sleeping, but he was awakened. Devdas, that is Gandhi's son, took them upstairs. Everybody was very courteous, and on being awakened, Mr. Gandhi sat up, but uttered no word, as it was his silence day. And I said to Mr. Gandhi, it is my duty to arrest you, and showed him the warrant to take him to Yeravada jail under the Bombay regulation of 1827. And I read out the warrant to him and touched his shoulder in token of having arrested him, and told him that I would give him half an hour to get ready. Asking for paper and pencil, he wrote, I will be ready exactly in half an hour. Because it was his silence day, he wrote it. And then soon thereafter, he became ready, and Miraben and others helped him. So, he had his little kit
With
prepared
him,
with him, and they all sang the prayers, and Vaishnava Janato Tene Kahiye, right here on this terrace, and people touched his feet and bid him farewell.
But I must say that when Police Commissioner Wilson came to arrest him, he was not handcuffed. It was a very courteous gesture or a symbol on part of Police Commissioner to touch his shoulder as a arrest, a symbol of arrest. That's very nice.
And Gandhi had prepared instructions and some message to Vallabhbhai Patel. He did not know that he was also arrested, and he had written, infinite is God's mercy, never swerve from truth and non-violence, never turn your back and sacrifice your lives and all to win Swaraj. And Gandhi was ready, walked arm in arm with Devdas to the police car, and
From this terrace, he was arrested.
down, and the crowd cheered him. Now the whole city observed a complete hartal. And the year 1932 is also important because there were other political developments taking place. And the news of Gandhi's ending fast at Yeravada jail on 26 September 1932 and Gandhi's discussion with Dr. Ambedkar resulting in understanding known as the Pune Pact in September 1932 was well received in the city. And according to this, the depressed classes would not get separate electorate, but would have increased number of seats reserved for them in the provincial and central legislatures. And now Gandhi devoted so much time on his constructive work, and at a public meeting in Bombay on 30th September 1932, an All India Anti-Untouchability League was formed with G.D. Birla as president and Amritlal Thakkar, known as Thakkar Bapa, as secretary. And this was the early stage of what we call Harijan Sevak Sangh, because Gandhi believed that constructive work is the foundation of civil disobedience.